Hello and welcome to my fire signs, Aries, Leo and Sagittarius. Welcome to your week ahead TarotScopes with me, Intuitive Rene. We are doing the week of the 8th to the 14th of May 2023 using these two gorgeous decks in front of me, both from the same creator, the creator being Chris and Donnelly. This is the Lightseers Tarot. I'm sure you will recognize it. And this one over here is her, just getting the box, is her Sacred Creators Oracle. These two decks work so well together. This one is just amazing. Well, they're both amazing. But let's get into the reading. We're going to start with the Oracle this week. So I'm going to move the tarot just out of view. And I'm going to start with obviously shuffling. We're looking for a card that's going to describe the energy of the week ahead for all fire signs, for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. What does the week ahead have in store for you? What is the kind of vibe? What is the kind of energy? What is the theme for the week ahead? That's what I want from this deck. All right, shuffle so nicely. Happy with that shuffle. Let's cut the deck and let's draw a single card. Right, let's put these out of the way and let's look at what we have. So our theme for the week ahead, fire signs, is, drum roll please, I have to giggle, overthinking can spoil the magic. Look at that, overthinking can spoil the magic. You know what, we know this, don't we? We don't need a card to tell us this. We know this. But clearly, oh, I know the glare is terrible. As soon as I have more cards here, it'll figure itself out. Let's see if I bring a bit of color in. So overthinking can spoil the magic. I'm gonna chat about that while I shuffle my Lightseers Tarot. So, you know, for the week ahead, we need to be cautious. We need to be careful. We need to be mindful that, you know, what we're thinking, what's going on in our heads is not influencing the outcomes that we require or desire too much. So we need to make sure that we are being quite clever or careful in our thinking, because if we start overanalyzing and overthinking, and I almost want to say getting a little bit aggressive, angry, frustrated, irritated, etc., we could actually find ourselves in quite a difficult predicament. So Aries, Leo, and Sag, overthinking can spoil the magic. So there's obviously magic in the air, because Spirit wouldn't bring up magic if there wasn't some kind of magic around. So we want to make sure that we're not jumping to conclusions. We want to make sure that we're not overanalyzing, overthinking, and almost, I want to say, jumping to conclusions. Like, let's just stick to that, okay? Because if we do, we are going to limit and restrict ourselves with regards to the magic. Okay, cutting the deck there. Let's turn them over and see what we have. So card number one is Judgment. There is a theme. We're two cards in and there is very clearly a theme. Third card we have is the Lovers. Oh, this is interesting. We then have the Seven of Swords, and I'm going to take one more. We have the Page of Wands. All right, let's get these out of the way. Let's spread these out a bit so that you can see them. So there's definitely a theme here. All right, fire signs, there is definitely a theme here. It's quite interesting, right? So we've got the overthinking can spoil the magic. We've got Judgment. Now, the word judgment itself, you don't need me to explain it to you. You know what judgment means, but this is the card of, if we look at the artwork, all right, so let's just explore the artwork for a second. Look at this lady over here. She is clearly into herself, if I can use that phrasing. And what she's doing is she's releasing a version of herself that is free. She feels like she's trapped. She feels like she's anchored down. The dark clothing, all of that kind of thing. She feels like she's anchored down, but then from her heart space comes this version of herself that is so free. So it's judgment that is holding her back. It's her own judgment of herself that is holding her back. And if she can learn to release the judgment, she sets herself free. And by setting herself free, the magic can happen. She's releasing herself and giving herself the opportunity to experience what life really has to offer. But it is about letting go of the self-judgment first. And self-judgment is the overthinking. I mean, it is just the overthinking. So it's not judgment of others. Actually, I'm going to include that. All right, I am going to include that, because if we are too quick to jump to a conclusion or to judge somebody else, that is also overthinking, which can also spoil the magic. So we mustn't take things the way that we normally do. We need to check in with ourselves, okay, and ask ourselves, are we jumping to conclusions? Are we thinking too much? Are we being too judgmental? And what is it that we need to let go? What is it that we need to release? I do think it's got to do with emotions, because here we have the Lovers card. And this is passion. All right, this is passion. This is, all of those kind of things. And let's be honest, fire signs, we are passionate beings. All right, we do everything at the max. There's no half efforts, there's no slow and steady. It's like we're all or nothing, and we are passionate to the core. So obviously the Lovers is about choice, it's about decision, it's about action, it's about love, it's about emotion and expressing yourself. So we need to make sure that we are expressing ourselves. So let's go back to the overthinking, because sometimes we can think to ourselves, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying anything, maybe I shouldn't be doing anything, because I'm only going to fail or succeed, or it's going to go wrong or whatever. But the truth of the matter is, we need to be able to express ourselves in a kind and loving, passionate way without triggering anything negative. Okay, so quite interesting that this is coming through for the week ahead. Seven of Swords is the one that's got me concerned. Like, I'm not worried about the Judgment, because I feel like we can get that under control. I feel like the Judgment is easy for us to handle. But the Seven of Swords, so the typical textbook definition of Seven of Swords is about deceit. I don't like that, and I don't conform to that. To me, Seven of Swords is saying that there are things that you are wanting to do, but if you don't take the time to strategize and plan what it is you want to do and what you want to achieve, you're never going to accomplish it. So this person here, he is being sneaky. You can see by his body language, you can see by the way that he's walking, he is being sneaky, but he hasn't thought about it. He's been stealing feathers from these birds, and you can see how they are crying out, okay? You can see that he's been sticking them in his backpack, but he didn't think about this. He didn't strategize. So now he's trying to get away, sneaking away without anybody noticing. Here's the bird's nest. And because he didn't think about it, the feathers are so light as he's moving, they're just falling out of his backpack because he didn't think about it. So it's like, okay, so you need to do something, and you need to do something that maybe isn't fabulous. You need to do something that maybe takes you out of your comfort zone and makes you, and that's where the overthinking can come in as well. So there is overthinking, and then there is strategy. Here there is no strategy at all. The overthinking is stopping him or stopping us from doing the thing that we need to do, because we are so passionate, because we are so, spur of the moment, spontaneous. We can sometimes get ourselves caught in difficult situations. And again, by difficult situations, I'm not talking about the lies and the deceit. I'm talking about actions that we jump into without giving it a thought. But we don't want to overthink it too much. There is a fine balance between strategy and overthinking. And we need to make sure that we are fitting in between that without being too quick to jump to negative conclusions. We need to make sure that we are following through with our passion, following through with our desires, our emotions. But we also need to make sure that we're not being super spontaneous, that we are actually setting ourselves up for failure. And then our final card, which really excites me. Here we have the Page of Wands. And look at her. She is just so fabulous. She is succeeding. She is accomplishing. Now, I do want to say to you that typically when we see a page energy is very young, very innocent, a little bit naive even. They've got all the theoretical knowledge and understanding, but they don't necessarily have much practical experience. Page of Wands is the suit of doing. So Page is saying that you are ready to jump. You are ready to go. You are ready to act. You are ready to jump into action. But maybe we need to make sure that we have a plan, have a strategy, so that when we do jump into action, everything works out the way that it needs to. So, fire signs. Looks like we are in for a very interesting week. Spirit is saying to us, slow and steady, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, watch your thoughts, watch your judgments, and try and keep a balance between the judgment and the truth. Still express yourself, be open and honest with who you are, what you want, what you desire, what you need. Be bold, be passionate, but we also need to just bring this in and say we must not overanalyze and overthink, because that's going to set us up for problems. There are things that we may need to do this week that are not really great, comfortable, wonderful, exciting. We may have some grudge work to do this week, and instead of just jumping in with both feet, take a minute to think. Take a minute to strategize so that you only have to do it once, so that you learn from the first time and that you don't have to repeat the situation over and over and over again. Because if you just jump in, you're going to bring yourself back into challenge and problems. Understand that whatever it is you're doing this week is probably something you haven't done before, or you've only ever done once or twice, okay? So it's not something that you are a master at, but you can get there by being cautious around what you're doing. But don't allow yourself to be overcautious, because we don't want to spoil the magic. So fire signs, I am personally, I am moving house in a week's time. So not something I do very often. My stress levels, my judgment, my everything is all over the place. So I personally, as an Aries, can totally relate to this 100%. I hope your week is not going to be as all over the place and as stressful as mine is going to be. I hope it's a lot easier and calmer for you. Look after yourself, take care of yourself, and I shall see you next week with love and blessings from my heart to yours. And until we connect again, fire signs, take care.